Hello, fellow followers. A king dancing half naked in front of an ark, the same king being a peeping Tom from a roof, and a prince raping his half-sister. It's time for the book of 2 Samuel. Okay, so most of the scenes in 2 Samuel involve either nakedness, violence, incense, and on one occasion, even all three. So I won't be acting them out. So in an effort to keep us going, I'm going to be filming this video in a number of different locations. Book of 2 Samuel isn't about Samuel, who died back in chapter 25 of 1 Samuel. No, the book is about David. Remembering that the books of 1 and 2 Samuel were originally one book, one of the main themes that draws them together is the link between monarchy and covenant loyalty. Samuel starts off by warning the people that even divinely appointed kings can be just like other kings. And we see that in Saul. But then that is contrasted with David. So the question is not whether or not Israel will have a king, but what kind of king will they have? Will the king faithfully display God's character to his people? Because he's supposed to be the representative of God's kingship over his people. And it's because they explore that David's flaws are emphasised so strongly in 2 Samuel. Take the story of 2 Samuel 10 to 12. King David is hanging out on the roof when he looks over and he sees a woman bathing through a window. He calls her over, her name's Bathsheba, and he sleeps with her, despite the fact he knows that she is the wife of one of his soldiers called Uriah. When it turns out she's pregnant, he brings Uriah home and tries to get him drunk to sleep with his wife. When he refuses, he is placed at the very front of the army so that he dies where the battle is fiercest. Nathan, who's essentially taken the place of Samuel as the prophet, comes and confronts him and lets him know that he knows exactly what he's done. David repents, but their baby dies anyway. They go on to have another baby who turns out to be Solomon, the great king. What's interesting is how the Bible tells this story. In the spring, at the time when kings go off to war, David sent Joab out with the king's men and the whole Israelite army. They destroyed the Ammonites and besieged Raam, but David remained in Jerusalem. So already we're being called to judge David. This was at a time where charismatic kings used to come and lead the charge against the enemy. And what's David doing? He's having siestas on rooftops and spying on women having ritual baths. Now we're being told to judge him. Yeah, and people are looking at me very strangely, so I'm stopping now. That's better, no one will look at me strangely here. What was I saying? Oh yes, that's right. So we're being called to judge David. He's spying on women having ritual baths, which means he knows they're fertile. And then when he calls Uriah and Uriah doesn't go back and sleep with his wife, it's because he's following the military tradition that David is ignoring. In other words, right from the beginning, the author is telling us to judge David in the wrong. In fact, that's the point. The people in 2 Samuel are real people, real complex people. After all, we're confronted with this messed up family. One of David's sons rapes his half-sister. Then one of his brothers kills him because of it. And when Absalom, one of David's sons, rebels against him and his army defeats him, David cries out for his son. Absalom, my son, Absalom, if only I died instead of you. I mean, seriously, what a messed up family. Well as telling us about David the man of weakness, the author also tells us about David the man of faith. When he's confronted with his sin, he repents. When the Ark of the Covenant that is brought into the city, he dances, not caring how undignified he looks. And he composes and sings great songs of praise to God. So in 2 Samuel 7, God turns up and he speaks to David and makes him a promise. He promises him that one of his descendants will sit on an eternal throne, that he will build a house for his name, and that this son will be like a son to God himself. This is ultimately fulfilled in Jesus and stands at the very centre of the Bible's story. You see, the role of the king is both to embody God's rule to the people and also to represent the people to God. That's why from now on the history books will basically tell the story of the Israelite people by telling the story of their kings. And one who is coming in David's line will do both perfectly. Represent God to people and represent the people before God. God bless, fellow followers. Okay, sorry it's taken me so long to do this. I'm not going to even pretend I know how long it'll take me to do the next one, but I am still intending to do them. So, yeah, sorry. Bye.